Okay, welcome back for the second in our Prisoner rewatch. This episode is titled Chimes of Big Ben. Original broadcast date was the 6th of October, 1967, with a script written by Vincent Tilsley, directed again by Don Chaffee. And in this episode, we have a new number two, played by Leo McKern. And Leo McKern will appear twice more in the series. In the final two episodes, he'll be returning as number two. I think he's the only number two. Well, I think there's another number two that appears a couple of times, but Leo McKern definitely has the most return appearances as number two. Oh, one other thing I wanted to mention. The butler, number two's butler in the series, played by Angelo Muscat. He is the only other character besides Patrick McGoohan that appears in every episode of the series. And we see him in this one carrying an umbrella. He's like number two's assistant. So I wanted to throw him out there. All right, so in this episode, we got a new number 8. Her name is Nadia, and she arrives in the village. We have a new intro for the show. They basically have the regular intro, but at it ends, it puts on a part at the end where we have a voiceover with the, where am I? You're in the village. Who are you? The new number 2. Who is number 1? You are number 6. And he says, I am not a number. I'm a free man. I think that's how it goes. And then number 2 laughs. So we get the introduction of the new number 2 every episode in this add-on to the intro. Okay, so episode starts. We have a public announcer cheerfully announcing current events in the village. And we learn a little bit at the beginning of this. It says that the council is democratically elected by you. This good morning, this woman's voice coming on, and she says that that's it. We learned that the council of the village is democratically elected, which is maybe Patrick McGoohan making a statement about democracy. I think that Frank Herbert's Dune has some things to say about democracy, and if you make it to books 5 and 6, that is, he makes commentary on that stuff. So, yeah, interesting. Number 6 is playing chess on the beach, and he doesn't trust anybody in the village. He's trying to get answers from them. Which side do you work for? Why are you here? Yada, yada, yada. We see the helicopter land. It brings in Nadia. Number 2 is there. Then they go to the Green Dome, number 6, number 2, watch Nadia awake from sleep, and we get kind of an exposition in case you missed it in the first one. It's just like a repeat of what happened to number 6 in the first episode. She wakes up in a perfect reproduction of her apartment or her home or her flat, and he gives some voiceover on that. But anyways, he informs number 2 that she's going to be the new number 8. She's going to be his new neighbor, and kind of to help her out, get acclimated. We learn a little bit more. She asks for directions to the Green Dome. She goes to the Green Dome, and then afterwards she's there all day, and he asks her to come back to his place for a drink. And we learn that there's no alcoholic beverages. It's all non-alcoholic, right? And that you pay for your drinks or you pay for things in the village with work units. Whiskey costs 24 work units. Vodka is 16 work units. So we're all back to this. There's no cash. The currency is work units or credits. We find out in a little questioning that Nadia, she says that she's Estonian, which number 6 replies to. It says Russian. So we're back to this Iron Curtain thing. But this was, I think, the most interesting piece of dialogue in the entire episode. I want to spend some time going over this. So Nadia is on the beach at one point, and number 2 walks up and he says, "May I join you?" And he says, "You're good neighbors, I hope. There are some people who talk and some people who don't, which means there are some people who leave this place and some who do not leave, and you are obviously staying." Number 6 replies, "Has it ever occurred to you that you're just as much a prisoner as I am?" "Ah, my dear chap, of course, I know too much. We're both lifers. I'm definitely an optimist. That's why it doesn't matter who number 1 is. It doesn't matter which side runs the village. It's run by one side or the other." "Oh, certainly, but both sides are becoming identical. Where in fact it is being created an international community, a perfect blueprint for world order. Where the sides facing each other suddenly realize they're looking in a mirror. They'll see that this is the pattern for the future. The whole earth as a village. That is my hope. What's yours?" "I'd like to be the first man on the moon." So that piece of dialogue from the series is talking about globalism. And you want to talk about prescience. Think about Patrick McGoohan, seeing the future and the direction that things were headed. This is what we are engaged in right now. In fact, this is what's causing all the conflict between the East and the West right now, between, Russia and China and the Western European powers aligned with the United States, is this unipolar idea of wanting to have a global village, a globalism. And there's these nation states that don't want this. They want to maintain their sovereignty. And I don't know which direction it's going to go. It's the whole idea of a unipolar world and the drive towards globalism is, basically the whole world is a global village. No more physical currency. Everything is digital currency. Everything is going to your social credit score. Essentially transforming the whole globe into a giant prison. And we've seen what happens with that. Like, what happens if the government seizes your bank accounts? Like, your right to protest democratically and speak out against your government. Like, if you have digitized currency, they can seize your bank account. And if they seize and freeze your assets, well, then you can't purchase. You can't buy, sell, or trade. So, essentially, you become, a non-person at that point. So who really has control and who really has the power? Now, the rest of the episode, it's interesting, but I think that this is really the crux, the big part of the episode that I really like to think about and go, wow, this show really has something to say. It's not just entertainment. This is like entertainment for the thinking man. But eventually, number 2 decides to help out Nadia because she's being tortured. He agrees to enter into the art competition, do some abstract art, but it's actually he's building a boat. And there's a little bit of commentary. I think Patrick McGoohan is making fun of postmodern art. When these people are walking up, these art critics, and saying, "What is it?" And he says, "It is what it is," or whatever you want it to be. Essentially, the brilliant. It's very pretentious people. It's kind of funny. I laugh at it. I think it's funny. But he wins the art competition. Then he uses his 2,000 credits to buy the sail. And of course, he turns it into a boat. And he and Nadia escape. They get pursued by Rover, who pops up out of the water to chase them. And then eventually they end up back in London in a packing crate. They get out, and lo and behold, he's about to tell his employer in London why he resigned when he notices that the chimes of Big Ben, that are ringing, don't match his watch. That somebody screwed up, and that in fact he never left the village at all. He's actually in the office where his employer was at. The office where he resigned has been totally recreated. The guy's even there, and he's working for the village. So Patrick McGoohan stops talking, number 6 stops and walks out right back into the village, very defiantly with animosity says to people, be seeing you. And then just they realize that they failed, that their plan didn't work. And this is a long con. And this is the point, I think, in this series when I was watching the second episode. This is what hooked me into the show. And I said, they're willing to go to these types of lengths, right? To go this far to play mind games with this guy. This show is brilliant. So, yeah. So that concludes the episode Chimes of Big Ben. And I am doing this in the order. I hope you watched this ahead of time. Again, you can watch this on YouTube. You can watch it on Tubi. You can watch it at Shout TV. As always, the links will be in the description box. So, short, sweet, to the point. Those are my observations. And until next time, be seeing you.